There is something you were never told, something that was quietly removed before the world was ready to hear it. You have heard of the law of attraction. You have heard that your thoughts shape your reality, that your mind is a magnet, that what you desire can be drawn toward you. This idea became famous because of a book and a film called The Secret. Millions of people embraced it. They tried to visualize, affirm, attract. But most of them failed, not because the law is false, but because the teaching was incomplete. The real secret behind the secret was never included. It was left out, hidden, silenced, and it did not begin with Rhonda Byrne. It began decades earlier, in the quiet mind of a man named Wallace Delois Wattles, a man who understood the law not as something mystical or poetic, but as a science, a precise method, a way of thinking, feeling, and acting that produces results with the same certainty that gravity pulls objects toward the earth. But the world did not remember him. His name remained in the shadows, while others took pieces of his work and reshaped them. And what was removed is the one thing that makes the law work, the one thing that turns desire into manifestation, the one thing that changes reality in the physical world, not just in the imagination. And that is what you are about to learn. Before we go any further, understand this. If you truly listen to what is revealed here, you cannot return to who you were before. This knowledge does not entertain, it transforms. You may feel something move inside you as the words unfold, a recognition, a memory, a truth you always sensed but could not articulate. Do not ignore it. Keep listening, because everything you have been seeking may begin here, in this moment. And it starts by asking one question. If the secret works, why doesn't it work for everyone? The answer is simple. The teaching was only half complete. The essential part was left out, and Wallace D. Wattles revealed it first. Wallace Delois Wattles did not look like a man who would influence the world. He was not wealthy. He did not stand on grand stages. He did not gather crowds or seek admiration. He lived a quiet life in the late 1800s and early 1900s, a time when society was rigid, when most people believed that their destiny was set by birth, by class, by the limits of their surroundings. Yet Wattles refused to accept that. He believed that the human mind was not a prison of circumstance, but a force capable of shaping reality itself. He devoted his life to studying the nature of creation, searching across religions, philosophies, and scientific writings for one unifying principle that governed success, fulfillment, and abundance. He did not come to this knowledge theoretically. He earned it through personal struggle, through poverty, through the experience of being overlooked and underestimated. While others sought to survive within the world as it was, Wattles sought to understand the unseen laws that made the world what it is. He studied the emerging New Thought movement, which proposed that reality is shaped by consciousness rather than chance. He read the works of philosophers who believed the universe is intelligent and responsive. He examined the teachings of spiritual mystics who spoke of vibration, frequency, and the creative power of thought. And after years of immersion, reflection, and practice, he condensed everything into one book, not a large book, not a complicated book, a short book written with precision, clarity, and absolute seriousness. A book called The Science of Getting Rich. It is important to understand that when Wattles used the word rich, he did not speak only of money. He referred to the full expansion of one's potential. To live richly is to express your abilities, your creativity, your purpose, your life force without restriction, to become more of what you truly are, to grow, to contribute, to fully inhabit your existence. Wealth to Wattles was the natural state of a mind aligned with universal law. Poverty was not a virtue. Poverty was a distortion, a misunderstanding of how reality works. His tone was firm, certain, direct. There was no ambiguity in his teaching. He did not say, Try to think positively. He did not say, perhaps the universe will respond if you believe enough. He said that the universe must respond, that creation is lawful, that once the correct internal state is established, results follow with inevitability, and it is this certainty that makes his work unique. He was not asking you to hope. He was instructing you to know. When Rhonda Byrne discovered his writings while searching for answers during a personal crisis, she sensed the power within them. The clarity, the authority, the simplicity, the explanation that reality is shaped not by conditions, but by consciousness. She took the part that the world was ready to hear, the part that could inspire, excite, uplift. But she did not include the part that requires discipline, identity, responsibility, embodiment. The part that demands that you become the person who already possesses what you desire. Wattles did not speak of manifestation as something mystical. He spoke of it as something inevitable when one aligns with the creative substance of the universe. He wrote that the person who follows the certain way cannot fail. Not may succeed, will succeed. His words were not motivational, they were instructional. They describe a blueprint, a formula, a repeatable method. And now that you know who he was, you will begin to understand what was taken from his teaching when the world was introduced to the secret. You will begin to understand why so many people try to manifest and fail. And you will begin to see how everything changes when you learn to act in the certain way. When The Secret was released, it brought the law of attraction into the mainstream. It introduced millions of people to the idea that thoughts shape reality, that imagination is creative, that your emotional state influences your experience. And this is true. The Secret was not wrong, it was incomplete. But what it presented was accurate within the part it chose to share. The Secret taught visualization. It taught gratitude. It taught the idea that focusing on what you desire draws it toward you. It encouraged people to pay attention to their emotional state, to avoid dwelling on fear, lack, or resentment, to align with what they wanted instead of what they feared. These ideas were taken directly from Wattles' writings, even if not credited clearly. They reflect the first two stages of manifestation, thought and feeling. The Secret also emphasized belief. It encouraged people to trust the process, even when physical evidence had not yet appeared. It encouraged surrender. It encouraged faith. These teachings are real. They are powerful, and for some people they are enough to cause change. But if thought and emotion were all it took, everyone who visualized their desires would already be living them. And that is not the case. The Secret spoke about the universe responding to intention, but it did not explain how identity determines the intention's strength. It did not explain that the universe responds to who you are being, not simply what you are imagining. It did not explain that emotion must match the identity of the person you want to become. It did not teach that your behavior must shift into alignment with that identity. The Secret made manifestation feel easy, accessible, light. But Wattles knew that the path requires discipline, self-awareness, responsibility, consistency. He knew that you must not only think and feel, but act. And not just act, but act in the certain way. The Secret gave the world a door, but it did not show people how to walk through it. Many viewers believed that if they simply visualized, the universe would deliver. They believed that if they repeated affirmations, reality would reshape itself. But when results did not come quickly, they became frustrated. They doubted the law. They doubted themselves. They believed they had failed. But the truth is simpler. They were never given the missing piece. They were told to desire. They were told to imagine. But they were not told to become. They were not told to shift identity. They were not told to act from the state of already having. They were not told to practice certainty. And without certainty, the law of attraction collapses. This is the turning point. This is the moment where understanding becomes power. because now you are prepared to receive the part that was removed, the part that turns thought into form, the part that makes manifestation real. Now we reveal what the secret did not include. When the secret was released, it brought the law of attraction into the mainstream. It introduced millions of people to the idea that thoughts shape reality, that imagination is creative, that your emotional state influences your experience. And this is true. The secret was not wrong, it was incomplete. But what it presented was accurate within the part it chose to share. The secret taught visualization. It taught gratitude. It taught the idea that focusing on what you desire draws it toward you. It encouraged people to pay attention to their emotional state, to avoid dwelling on fear, lack, or resentment, to align with what they wanted instead of what they feared. These ideas were taken directly from Wattles' writings, even if not credited clearly. They reflect the first two stages of manifestation, thought and feeling. The secret also emphasized belief. It encouraged people to trust the process, even when physical evidence had not yet appeared. It encouraged surrender. It encouraged faith. These teachings are real. They are powerful, and for some people they are enough to cause change. But if thought and emotion were all it took, everyone who visualized their desires would already be living them. And that is not the case. The secret spoke about the universe responding to intention, but it did not explain how identity determines the intention's strength. It did not explain that the universe responds to who you are being, not simply what you are imagining. It did not explain that emotion must match the identity of the person you want to become. It did not teach that your behavior must shift into alignment with that identity. The secret made manifestation feel easy, accessible, light. But Wattles knew that the path requires discipline, self-awareness, responsibility, consistency. He knew that you must not only think and feel, but act. And not just act, but act in the certain way. The secret gave the world a door, but it did not show people how to walk through it. Many viewers believed that if they simply visualized, the universe would deliver. They believed that if they repeated affirmations, reality would reshape itself. But when results did not come quickly, they became frustrated. They doubted the law. They doubted themselves. They believed they had failed. But the truth is simpler. They were never given the missing piece. They were told to desire, they were told to imagine, but they were not told to become. They were not told to shift identity. They were not told to act from the state of already having. They were not told to practice certainty. And without certainty, the law of attraction collapses. This is the turning point. This is the moment where understanding becomes power. Because now you are prepared to receive the part that was removed. The part that turns thought into form, the part that makes manifestation real. Now we reveal what the secret did not include. The part that was removed is the core of Wattles's teaching. It is the element that transforms desire into reality. It is the difference between wishing and creating. Wallace D. Wattles called it acting in the certain way. Not thinking, not hoping, acting. But acting from a specific inner state, a state of calm, grounded, unshakable certainty. The state of someone who already knows that what they desire is theirs, not someday, not eventually, but now. This is where most people fail. They visualize what they want, but they continue to behave like the person who does not have it yet. They speak about their goals, but they continue to move through the world with hesitation, doubt, fear, and scarcity. Their identity contradicts their desire, and identity always wins. You can only receive at the level of the person you are willing to be. To act in the certain way means that your behavior, tone, choices, and energy must reflect the reality you are creating before it appears. You wake up and move as the person who has already stepped into the life you desire. You make decisions from that identity. You speak from that identity. You walk from that identity. You manage your attention as that identity. You do not look at your current circumstances to determine who you are. You let who you are determine your circumstances. The Secret taught people to visualize. Wattles taught people to embody. Embodiment is the missing key. Without embodiment, manifestation is imagination with no anchor. Without embodiment, the mind sends one signal while the nervous system sends another. The universe listens to the nervous system, not the fantasy. If your words say, "I am abundant," but your emotional state is fear of not having enough, the universe reads fear. If you say, "I am confident," but your posture and voice carry insecurity, the universe reads insecurity. If you say, "I am successful," but your actions are hesitant and uncertain, the universe reads uncertainty, and the universe returns what you are, not what you say. Acting in the certain way is identity alignment. It is living as the end result before the end result arrives. This is not pretending. It is not lying to yourself. It is choosing the version of yourself that exists beyond fear, beyond doubt, beyond delay. It is choosing the self that already knows. Certainty does not feel like excitement. Certainty feels like peace. It is quiet. It is stable. It does not rush. It does not grasp. It does not wait for proof. It moves because the outcome is already assumed. This is why Wattles wrote that the person who acts in the certain way cannot fail. Because reality must match identity. Not immediately, not dramatically, but inevitably. Once identity shifts, circumstances rearrange to confirm it. Opportunities that were invisible begin to show themselves. People respond to you differently. Decisions become clearer. Patterns shift. Life reorganizes around the new self. This is the truth that was removed because it requires responsibility. You cannot act in the certain way if you continue to identify as someone who lacks, someone who waits, someone who doubts, someone who seeks permission. To act in the certain way, you must claim your life as your creation. You must choose your identity consciously. You must refuse to let your past define your future. You must let go of who you have been in order to become who you truly are. And now the question begins to form inside you. You can feel it. You know what it is. It is the question that changes everything. If I already were the person I want to be, how would I act today? Hold that question. Do not rush past it. Everything begins there. Identity is the foundation of all manifestation. You do not manifest what you want. You manifest what you are. Your identity is the silent pattern beneath your thoughts, feelings, and actions. It is the story you tell yourself about who you are and what is possible for you. Most people try to change their lives while keeping the same identity. They try to become wealthy while still identifying as someone who is struggling. They try to experience love while still identifying as someone who is unworthy. They try to succeed while still identifying as someone who doubts their own abilities. They attempt to build a new reality with the blueprint of an old self. And so nothing changes. Not because the desire is wrong, but because the identity has not shifted. Wattles understood that identity comes first. He taught that you must live in the mental and emotional state of already having what you desire, even when your physical reality has not yet changed. This is the part that requires courage, because it means you stop allowing your current circumstances to determine your state. You stop looking to the outside world for permission to feel certain. You stop letting the past decide your future. You begin to lead your life from the inside instead of reacting to the outside. Identity is not changed through forcing. Identity shifts when you consistently choose a new state of being, when you begin to think as the person you want to be, when you begin to feel as the person you want to be, when you begin to act as the person you want to be, even in small ways, especially in small ways. The subconscious mind learns through repetition, not sudden effort. You do not need to become your highest self in a single moment. You simply begin to behave as one who is becoming. Each repetition strengthens the new identity, and eventually it becomes effortless. Your internal state is the signal you send to the universe. When your internal state is doubt, the universe responds with delay. When your internal state is fear, the universe responds with limitation. When your internal state is scarcity, the universe responds with struggle. But when your internal state is certainty, the universe responds with alignment. Certainty does not require proof. It creates proof. Certainty does not require reassurance. It becomes reassurance. Certainty does not depend on what is seen. It shapes what is seen. This is why Wattles emphasized gratitude. Gratitude is the emotional confirmation that you believe the outcome is guaranteed. Gratitude aligns your nervous system with abundance. Gratitude places you in the state of receiving. Gratitude dissolves resistance. When you are grateful, you are already full. And when you are already full, nothing can be taken from you. You move through life without fear, without urgency, without scarcity. Your identity becomes expansive, and reality expands to match it. Identity alignment is not a performance, it is presence. It is the quiet decision to no longer participate in thoughts, feelings, and actions that belong to the version of you that is leaving. It is the soft, steady, unwavering return to who you are choosing to be. And the more you return to this identity, the more your reality begins to shift, not through force, but through resonance. What is meant for your new self will find you. What belonged to your old self will fall away. This is the natural movement of transformation, and it begins the moment you decide to embody the person you truly are. Now that you understand the principle, the question becomes how to apply it. How do you live as the person you are becoming rather than the person you have been? The process is simple, but it requires consistency. The first step is to define who you are choosing to be. Not what you want, but who has already received what you want. If your desire is financial freedom, who is the version of you that is financially free? How do they think? What do they believe about themselves? How do they respond to challenges? How do they speak, move, and make decisions? If your desire is love, who is the version of you who is already loved and loving? How do they carry themselves? How do they treat others? How do they treat themselves? The identity must be clear, not perfect, but clear enough that you can begin to step into it. The second step is to create the emotional state of already having. This is where most people misunderstand. You are not imagining the future, you are remembering it. You are placing yourself in the emotional memory of the reality you are choosing. If the version of you who has already achieved your desire feels calm, safe, confident, grounded, then you practice that emotional tone in your body now. You breathe differently, you relax into yourself, you release tension, you shift from urgency to trust. The emotional signature is the signal that speaks to the universal creative field. When the emotion matches the identity begins to stabilize. The third step is to take small daily actions from this identity. You do not wait for motivation. You do not wait for signs. You do not wait for perfect timing. You do what the person you are becoming would do today. If they manage money wisely, you manage money wisely. If they speak with clarity, you speak with clarity. If they honor their boundaries, you honor your boundaries. If they create, you create. Small actions compound. Every aligned action strengthens the identity. Every aligned action declares to the universe, this is who I am. The fourth step is to release attachment to time. The old self is impatient. The old self seeks proof. The old self demands results to feel secure. But the new self already feels secure. The new self already trusts. The new self already knows. When you release urgency, you create space for alignment. When you stop rushing, you allow doors to open. When you stop seeking signs, you begin to recognize the signs that were always there. The fifth step is the practice of gratitude. Gratitude is the state of already receiving. Gratitude is the acceptance that nothing is missing. Gratitude is the embodiment of completion. When you wake up, give thanks before anything happens. When you move through your day, give thanks without needing a reason. Gratitude teaches your nervous system to hold abundance, and when you can hold abundance internally, it begins to appear externally. This process is not dramatic, it is steady, it is deliberate, it is quiet. You are not forcing yourself into a new identity, you are returning to your natural identity, the one that exists beneath fear, beneath doubt, beneath habit. The universe responds to the version of you who is not trying to become but being. The moment you begin to live as the person you are choosing to be, reality begins to reorganize. Not through fantasy, through law, through alignment, through cause and effect. One of the clearest examples of Wattles' influence can be seen in the life of Bob Proctor. Before he became a well-known teacher of abundance and personal transformation, he struggled. He felt trapped in work he did not love. He lived in limitation. He did not understand how to create change. But when he discovered the science of getting rich, something shifted. He did not simply read the book. He studied it. He absorbed it. He internalized the identity of the person who already had what he desired. He acted in the certain way. And over time, his external reality began to reflect his internal certainty. He did not rise because of luck. He rose because identity reorganizes reality. The same pattern appears in countless lives, not only in those who became wealthy, but in those who found clarity, purpose, love, confidence, expression. When a person changes their internal state, the world responds. This is not superstition. It is coherence. It is alignment. It is resonance. Consider a person who desires confidence. They can repeat affirmations saying, "I am confident," but if their posture is small, their voice is quiet, their decisions are hesitant, their identity has not changed. The universe reads identity, not affirmations. But when that same person begins to speak from their center, to look others in the eye, to breathe deeply, to take up space, to act without waiting for permission, something shifts. People respond differently. Opportunities appear that were previously invisible. It seems like coincidence, but it is not coincidence. It is identity becoming visible. Consider someone who desires love. They may long for connection, attention, affection, but if they believe they are not enough, if they carry fear of abandonment, if they expect rejection, they will unconsciously act in ways that confirm those beliefs. But if that same person begins to treat themselves with respect, to set boundaries, to express truth, to move with softness and strength at the same time, love begins to enter their life. Not because they asked for it, but because they became the person who can receive it. When identity changes, everything changes. Relationships, finances, opportunities, environments, timing, all of it reorganizes in response to the inner shift. This is why some people seem to transform their lives effortlessly. They are not trying harder, they are being differently. Wattles understood that the universe does not reward effort. It responds to alignment. You do not succeed because you struggle. You succeed because you become the person for whom success is natural. The universe does not grant abundance to those who chase it. It reveals abundance to those who embody it. The universe does not give love to those who beg for it. It reflects love to those who live as love. When you change the root, the fruit must change. Now something in you is beginning to recognize the truth, not as an idea, but as a memory. You have glimpsed this state before, moments where you moved without hesitation, moments where you felt clear, moments where you acted without fear or doubt, moments where you simply knew. In those moments, life responded differently. The conversation flowed. The opportunity appeared, the door opened, things aligned without effort. That was the certain way. You have experienced it, even if only briefly. It is not foreign to you. It is your natural state, uncovered for a moment before the old identity returned and covered it again. What you are realizing now is that you do not have to wait for these moments. You do not have to depend on chance. You do not have to hope that confidence appears or that alignment happens by accident. You can choose this state. You can return to it deliberately. You can make it the foundation of your life. The certain way is not something you learn. It is something you remember. It is the state of being you were born with, before the world taught you to fear, doubt, hesitate, and shrink. You are not becoming a new self. You are returning to your true self. This is the moment where the shift begins, not when you think about it, not when you analyze it, but when you feel it. The old identity is fading. The limitations you accepted are dissolving. The beliefs you carried without question are loosening. Something inside you is standing up. Something inside you is waking up. Something inside you is remembering who you are. You can feel it now. It is quiet, it is steady, it is certain. Now you understand the part that was never spoken, the part that was removed, the part that makes the law of attraction real. Thought is the blueprint, emotion is the magnet, identity is the foundation, action is the expression, and certainty is the key that holds all of it together. You are not waiting for your future. You are shaping it. You are not hoping for change. You are becoming the one who changes everything. You are not asking the universe to deliver anything to you. You are aligning yourself with the universal law that responds to who you are. When you act in the certain way, what you desire must come, not by chance, not by luck, not by exception, by law. If you are still here, you are not here by accident. Something brought you to this moment. Something in you was ready to remember. The shift has already begun. Let it continue. Let it deepen. Let it unfold. Do not rush. Do not force. Simply return to the state of the one who already knows. If you feel this truth inside you, speak it. Write in the comments, I act in the certain way. Not for others. For yourself. To claim the identity that is now rising within you. And if this message opens something in you, subscribe. Stay connected. Return here when you forget. Return here when the old identity tries to pull you back. Return here when you need to remember. This is your reminder. This is your anchor. This is your initiation into the life you were always meant to live. Your future is not waiting for you. It is waiting for you to become the one who already possesses it. Begin now.